Today's Alabama football report is presented by Manscaped. If you want to know a little bit more about the products Manscaped has to offer, be sure to stick around as the holiday season is coming around and you don't want to spook anybody out on Halloween, or maybe you want to help somebody out around Christmas time. Manscaped has you covered. Stick around and we'll give you a little bit more info on what Manscaped is offering on 20% off. My goodness, nobody's beating that. And you know who's not beating anybody else? Well, Mississippi State. They're really bad. And Alabama showed that. 49-9, the Crimson Tide go down to Stark Vegas and dominate Will Rogers and make him look like he probably shouldn't even be in the SEC. Again, 35 completions for Will Rogers on 55 attempts. Just a casual 3-interception game. That's what Alabama's defense is all about. And if you can't tell yet, this is an overreaction show. So, Producer Trace, let's go get a little overreaction here, right? Like in the sense of, what are the people talking about when it comes to Alabama football? I can tell you this. They're talking about this guy. John Metchie is the best wide receiver Alabama has. And now, I know what you're thinking, RC. How the hell is that possible? Well, I'll get to that in a second when it comes down to John Metchie, because let's be honest, there's plenty of options for the Crimson Tide. But first, you love the Alabama Crimson Tide? Like the video. It's that simple. We're trying to see if we can get a bunch of likes on here just because, well, we know you love the Alabama Crimson Tide, because who doesn't? Well, Producer Trace doesn't. He's an Arkansas fan, so boo him down in the comments if you want. But like the video and let him know that the Alabama Crimson Tide run the SEC, because Arkansas, they fell off pretty quick, Trace. I'm just saying. You know who hasn't fallen off, though? John Metchie. John Metchie dominated down in Stark Vegas. 7 receptions, 117 yards, averaging just under 17 per catch, and 1 TD. And my first overreaction, John Metchie is the best wide receiver for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And, you know, there's going to be people down in the comments. I get it. RC, what about Jamison Williams? He had a big play tonight. Well, I get that. I get it. I really do. But I think when I say he is the best wide receiver, and first and foremost, we're talking about overreactions here, I will say that John Metchie is probably the most reliable in terms of hands and not a big play guy. But when it comes down to it and everything, there's so many talented wide receivers on here. And this overreaction number one, I partially believe it if we're talking about reliability. But if we are strictly going off best wide receiver, Jamison Williams takes the cake, right? I mean, this guy is, holy crap, he runs a 4.2, the fastest guy ever clocked in terms of recorded speed at Alabama. Ran over 22 miles an hour. I mean, that's illegal in a school zone, people. Like, you get pulled over for that. Producer Trace got pulled over last week for going 22 in a school zone. I can't relate. I go the speed limit. I care about the kids. The Arkansas people in this office, not so much. I'm just saying, shout them out down in the comments, though. Who is the Tide's best wide receiver? Let me know. Let me know who the best wide receiver is on the Tide. And there's plenty of people to choose from, right? This isn't a Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs type situation. But I do feel like there is a ton of talent on the Alabama Crimson Tide. All I ask is you let me know who is the best wide receiver currently on the roster right now, because Manscaped is all about the Crimson Tide, and you should be all about Manscaped. For 20% off your order of Manscaped, go to manscaped.com/chat and use the code CHAT. Listen, the holiday season's coming up. It's spooky season. It's cuffing season for you college people out there that might be watching that, and for the people out there that might not know what cuffing season is, well, it's getting cold outside. And Manscaped is here to help, because when it gets cold outside, you might get bored inside, if you know what I'm saying. Be safe about it. Manscaped's here to help. You want to use the Lawnmower 4.0 on this, and make sure that your mask and your Halloween costume is the only thing spooky about you, and the ladies aren't running away for another reason. Gentlemen, you know what I'm talking about. Manscaped is here to help. Head over to manscaped.com/chat and use the promo code CHAT to save 20% off plus free shipping on your order of Manscaped. Get that Lawnmower 4.0. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. It's got a light on there. My girlfriend absolutely loves it. I'm just saying, like, why not have one? And my girlfriend's mom watches these as well. I'm trying to keep it PG-13 again, Miss Lawson. I love you. I'm just trying to keep it PG-13. And Manscaped, they want to make sure you can keep it rated R. All you got to go do is go to manscaped.com/chat and use the promo code CHAT to get 20% off plus free shipping. My second overreaction, they're back. And no. I know what you're going to say, RC. This secondary is nothing compared to past secondaries. Well, that might be fair. But what they did down in Stark Vegas, you take this every day of the week. On 55 attempts, they only allowed 300 yards passing. Did the Alabama Crimson Tide defense. And I see the -1 rushing yard there. That's hella impressive if you're the Bulldogs. You literally went backwards. Like, you didn't even go forward once. Like, in terms of just average and as a team. You have -1 rushing yards, and a lot of that has to do with sacks. I get it. But a 299 total yards for Alabama. The secondary feels back, and due in large part to Jordan Battle. I thought Jordan Battle might have played his best overall game this season for Alabama, right? You think about it, he had the pick six, and then he also had that interception late in the end zone on just an awful throw by Will Rogers. But Will Rogers had a ton of awful throws, and I don't want to crap on him too much just because he did have that shoulder injury. He had that warrior mentality. I think that should be credited for him to staying in the whole game and really fighting through what we don't really know what the shoulder injury is, but you could definitely tell he was favoring it. But shout out to the Alabama secondary for capitalizing, right? Jordan Battle with 2 interceptions, and then Josh Jobe had the other one. I thought Jobe was really, really good tonight, and I get that Mississippi State doesn't have those elite level wide receivers, right? But I think on the outside, you have to play your competition. Simple and plain, you play who's on the schedule, and right now, it feels like the secondary is finally living up to the hype, right? Mississippi State is known for their passing attack. Shit, it's a Mike Leach offense, right? He doesn't run the football. You saw the numbers. -1 rushing yard. You watching this right now, whatever your name is. I hope you have a great Sunday, by the way. Hope you went to church, enjoyed yourself. But you had more rushing yards than Mississippi State did in Week 7. Congratulations for that, by the way. Secondary had a large part to do with that, bringing guys down. The defensive line was great as well, but the secondary is finally living up to the hype, and not a moment too soon for this Crimson Tide team that has really struggled in the secondary at times all season long, and this is the most pass-happy team in the SEC in the Mississippi State Bulldogs. But let me know, I'm curious, how confident are you in the Tide secondary? Scale it 1 to 10 for me, right? I think there's a lot of questions still out there. The talent is there, though, for that secondary. If you're asking me right now, I'd probably have it at an 8.5. It's getting close to 10 just because I think you're getting healthy. You're showing a little bit of promise with those young guys as well. Mississippi State, albeit not a Georgia of the world in terms of level of, really recruits coming in there and everything, they like to pass the ball. Mike Leach does not run the football very well. And they proved that, well, you can't do that against Alabama, even if that's all you want to do if you're Mike Leach. Let me know down in the comments, though, how confident you are in the Tide secondary. Listen, penalties are still an issue, right, for this team. They have been all season long, and I'll be honest with you, I thought that Alabama got away with a couple of holds tonight that weren't called, but give or take, that happens in every game. Looking at the stats in terms of penalty yards for Alabama from Week 3 through this week, right? You look at it, Week 3, not ideal. 75 yards, 60 yards against Southern Miss, 52, and then 82 in the loss against Texas A&M. You went on the right track, right? 2 for 15, but was that because of how bad Mississippi State is? Like, I get it, they beat A&M and you lost to them, so I can't really crap on them too much. But at the same time, like, you got away with a little bit. And I don't know if Mississippi State, this one-time blimp on the radar, should be, oh, this has changed, because it has to change quickly. And now if it changed tonight, by all means, great for them, right? In the sense that if this changed last night for the Alabama Crimson Tide against the Mississippi State Bulldogs moving forward in terms of penalties and the, shrinking that number, by all means. I don't believe it personally, though. I think that this team has way too many issues on the offensive line to have 2 penalties for 15 yards moving forward. I think it'll probably be in that, range where they had Southern Miss, maybe Ole Miss in terms of 52 yards per game in penalties. And Nick Saban is not going to like that. But I promise you this, Nick Saban loves this dude right here. Will Anderson Jr. is the best in college football. And don't misread this. The best in college football, I mean strictly on defense, okay? Just strictly on defense. I think Will Anderson Jr. is the best defensive player in the country, and I know that our boss, James Yoder, They got Aiden Hutchinson up at Michigan. Forget that guy. Producer Trace, put Will Anderson Jr. stats on the damn screen. 6 tackles, 4 sacks, and then he had a couple of pass breakups as well in terms of just one. He had 4 tackles for loss. But really when it comes down to this for Will Anderson, in my opinion, right, Will Anderson is one of the best players in all of college football. Not strictly defensively. I'm talking all around. I think he is that impactful of a player, right? He is absolutely amazing. And the best part about him, he's a leader. That's the thing. He went out on Monday last week after that loss to Texas A&M and said football has to be the priority when you come to Alabama. Well, he proved it's his priority, going for 6 tackles, 4 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss. And let's be honest about this. Is it really an overreaction when I say he's the best defensive player in college football? Like, is it really? I mean, you got Thibodeau at Oregon. He's hurt. Hutchinson up at Michigan. Like, let's be honest. The only reason that he gets any love is because James Yoder throws it to him here at Chat Sports. And now Will Anderson Jr. is facing a much higher level of competition week in and week out. Has looked like an absolute stud every week for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And the best part about it, he's the leader of the defense, and he's only a sophomore. But you tell me real quick, is Will Anderson Jr. the best defensive player in college football? Type Y for yes, type N for no. You know I am spamming that Y button, as I think Will Anderson Jr. could go down when it's all said and done. Best part about it, he's got one more year left in Tuscaloosa as one of the best defensive players the Crimson Tide has ever seen.